Hello class, we are in page 291 in our arithmetic book. So we did learn how to multiply by 10, 100, and 1000. And all you had to do was what? Move the decimal point or annex zeros. Today we're going to learn the opposite of multiplying, which is dividing by 10, 100, and 1000. If you know the rule, it's going to take you seconds to probably solve that problem. So today we are dividing by 10, 100, and 1000. So the rule, as you are dividing by the power of 10, says to divide a decimal or a whole number by 10, 100, or 1000, move the decimal point to the left as many places as there are zeros in the divisor. There is an additional rule in your book, and the rule would say that there is an imaginary decimal point at the end of the whole number. So I did explain that of how we have an imaginary decimal point at the end of the whole number. So it's the complete opposite. When you were multiplying by the power of 10, you had to move the decimal point to the right. But this time, since you are dividing, not multiplying, but since you are dividing by the power of 10, all you have to do is move the decimal point to the left as many places as there are zeros in the divisor. So let me go ahead and show you an example. I have 629 divided by 10. So this time I am dividing a whole number by a power of 10. So I have 629 divided by 10. 10 has how many zeros? 1 0. So I am going to move my decimal point to the left one time. But you're going to tell me, I don't have a decimal point in the 629. Where is my decimal point? There is always an imaginary decimal point at the end of the whole number. So there's going to be an imaginary decimal point right there. Now let's go and move our imaginary decimal point one time to the left. And my final answer is going to be 62.9. Moving on to 629 divided by 100. 100 has 2 zeros, so I am going to move my decimal point 2 times to the left. I have an imaginary decimal point at the end of the whole number, and I am going to move my decimal point twice since there are 2 zeros in 100. 1 and 2. And my final answer is 6.29. This time 629 divided by 1000. 1000 has 3 zeros. 1, 2, and 3. So I am going to move my decimal point 3 times to the left. So I have my imaginary decimal point, and I'm going to move it 3 times to the left. 1, 2, and 3. And my decimal point goes right there. So my final answer is 0.629. Moving on, as we are dividing decimals by a power of 10, I have 5.8 divided by 10. All I have to do is move my decimal point to the left, depending on how many zeros I have. For 10, I have 1 0. So I am going to move my decimal point 1 time to the left. So my final answer is 0.58. For the next one, I am dividing by 100. 100 has 2 zeros, so I'm going to move my decimal point 2 times to the left. 1 and 2. But at this time though, I have an empty space right here. What am I going to do with that empty space? I am going to annex a 0. Very good. And my final answer is going to be 0.058. Moving on to a last one, 5.8 divided by 1000. 1000 has 3 zeros, so I am going to move my decimal point 3 times to the left. So I'm going to start with my decimal point, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to add my decimal point right there. What do I do with the empty spaces? Very good, you annex zeros. So 1 0 and 2 zeros, and my final answer is going to be 0.0058. So all you have to do is move the decimal point to the left, depending on how many zeros you have in the power of 10. For today's classwork, what you are going to do, you are going to do page 291 and you are going to do all of the prompts. Goodbye.